All right, good morning. Thanks for tuning in. This is chapter 18 of the 25 Biblical Laws of Success. Uh, Glad to be back on here. Took a couple of days off, but we're excited to get this thing done. We are past the halfway point, guys. Just a few pages past half the book. This is chapter 18 out of 32, and the end ones at the end are going to be a little short. So, but today we have a loaded chapter. This is continuing the law of relationships. Part 4 of the book, right? All the laws of relationships. We learned about love. We learned about the law of agreement, and now we are in the law of usefulness. All right, so that's a word that is we use it for a certain way, just being useful. But here we're gonna take it. We're gonna go more into depth on that word, and that word is pretty much holding everybody accountable and making sure that you do your part whenever possible, and that you go above and beyond, and that if it's possible for you to do it, you must, right? According to the Bible verses that we are going to be reading here today. All right, so let's start off with Proverbs chapter 27, verse 18. It says, people who take care of fig trees are allowed to eat fruit. In the same way, people who take care of their masters will be rewarded. All right, so again, a lot of excerpts from the book of Proverbs and King Solomon. We're going to hear from a couple times in this chapter right here. The Bible considers it a sin when you can be useful but are not, or you can do good but you don't. The biblical term sin does not only refer to killing, lying, committing adultery, or stealing. In other words, sin is just about doing the things that are wrong. It's not about just doing things that are wrong. Sin is also about not doing the right things. So failing to do good is wrong. And so it holds us all in accountable, because there's a lot of times where we can do something, we can't go the extra mile, we just choose not to. All right, so moving on, it says, if in James chapter 4, verse 17, if anyone then knows the good they ought to do and doesn't do it, it is a sin for them. All right, so confirmation from the Bible, book of James. The Bible urges people to be useful. You can follow the law of usefulness either for religious reasons or to avoid committing a sin, or simply because you want to be a more successful person. All right, so there are many who think that you don't need to serve others because they don't need anybody. So they choose isolation, sometimes out of shyness or out of pride. Right, so I'm guilty of this, isolating myself because of those two. But it says, but this behavior limits their professional development. All right, so this really impacted me, because that's something I tend to do, is really isolate myself for whatever reason. But it says that we're limiting ourselves in our professional development. Jesus was very clear in Mark chapter 9, verse 35, says, anyone who wants to be first must be the very last and the servant of all. All right, so Jesus put it in the context right there. And in this context, being a servant is another way of saying you should be useful to everyone. Right? So this chapter is about serving, right? As we hear from Jesus. So this is all just being a better servant to society, being a better servant to your peers, your coworkers, your boss, your whoever, your mentors, your team. But instead we use this word usefulness. It's interesting that they do that. No company will hire you to fulfill your own needs. You are hired because of the company's needs. The company needs to be profitable to survive, otherwise it ends up in bankruptcy. In this parable of the old bags of gold, Jesus dealt with an amazing principle regarding trust and professional care advancement. We heard about that earlier in this book with the master who left his riches, right, to his three servants. And he says, that the employee who produced a return of 100% of his master's business received the following reward. Quote, "Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful in few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness." Unquote. Matthew chapter 25, verse 21. How many employees want to be, quote, faithful with few things, unquote, hoping that to be good and one day to be good and devoted managers of many things, right? So how many of us want that advancement? Many expect to be promoted first and later show their dedication to work, but you must first prove yourself to be faithful over minor tasks. That's right. So that's awesome because our coach today mentioned something about that, about advancement and being promoted and things like that. So why would a manager promote someone who has not yet proven himself to be a good worker? Some people don't succeed because they fail to make a profit for the company, because they risk their company with poor management, or um, results will always reveal reality and negative outcomes. I highlighted that because that was huge. Results will always reveal reality. The negative outcomes for these employees are mere consequences. It's never a victim of action. All right, mere consequences. So, uh, be the well prepared, honest, and but the well prepared, honest, and committed professional who delivers results will be much sought after for the top jobs. Sometimes auctions are held to determine who will hire the star player for their company by offering the best salary and benefits. Do you know what you are good at? Joyce Meyer says, "I'm not where I need to be, but thank God I'm not where I used to be. I'm okay and I'm on the way." Great quote by Joyce Myers. Discover how you can be the most useful to the company. Learn what you are good at. Right, great way to advance and focus on it. If you aren't yet good at anything, work hard at excelling in something. When an employee becomes more and more useful, there comes a time where he or she becomes essential. So, job security. It doesn't matter if the company is yours or someone else's, if it belongs to your family or a foreign group. It doesn't matter if your current job is good for your long term career or not. If you are there, be useful to the company and to all those you deal with. So it's kind of what we read about earlier when it says that everything you do it with all your heart. Do it with everything you can. Do it the best way you possibly can. Do the job and do it well. It says here, even if it doesn't matter to you, like maybe you have dreams of becoming something big in another industry, and you just have this job for now. And that's your mentality. And that's the way, if you think like that, that's the way you're going to show up to work. That's the way you're going to do your job. But if you treat it like it's your own, if you treat it like you care, you're going to produce. And it says, even if the company is not yours, it's not your family's, it belongs to some foreign entity. It says, it doesn't matter. But it says, to be useful. Um, and it says, if you are there, be useful to the company and to those you deal with. Solomon says, whoever protects their master will be honored. Proverbs 27, verse 18. A perspective manager a perceptive manager will treat employees well, reward their benefits, and keep them motivated and productive. But if it may not always happen. Sometimes being treated with honor is the most is an invitation to work elsewhere. That's awesome. Sometimes being treated with honor is an invitation to work elsewhere. If the company where you work fails to notice who deserves better treatment, sooner or later, someone in another company will take notice. So it says, even if you're working your butt off at your job and you're trying to gain recognition, you're trying hard so that the bosses will notice you and give you a promotion. It says, even if they don't, someone else will. You will be sought after. I believe that. Right. And so if you are a manager, be alert to those who deserve to be treated with honor and see to it. If you own the company, take notice of what the Bible recommends. Proverbs 27, verse 18, the one who guards a fig tree will eat its fruit. This includes employees sharing a company's profits and receiving their labor law entitlements. If the company is doing well, its success should be good for everybody. By acting fairly and sharing the fruit of its profits with its employees, the company stands to gain a good reputation, not to mention the loyalty of its staff. That's good. A company stands on a good reputation, not to mention the loyalty of its staff. This can only result in greater success. So it's saying if you are management, if you are the company, you've got to recognize your players. You've got to acknowledge those who are doing well. And that's why I love the company I'm with, because they're really great at recognition. They're great at pushing people up when they deserve it. And it does a lot for the worker. It does a lot for the employee, the downline, the new recruit. It does a lot for the new guy in the team when he's gaining those accolades by management acknowledging the work that they do. This will only result in greater success. If things are currently not well, try to adopt these recommendations. Perhaps conditions will change for the better. So here are the conditions. Let's go. The first one is win-win. Starting off with Proverbs chapter 11, verse 24. One person gives freely, yet gains even more. Another withholds unduly, but comes to poverty. If someone makes too much at someone else's expense, he or she may lose it one day. However, what seems to be a loss for one may in time result in a gain. So we're talking about having fair business. We talked about just a couple paragraphs ago that workers should work hard no matter what, and they will be recognized either by their own boss or by somebody in another company. Maybe another company will acknowledge them. But it also says that for those of you who are in management, leadership, or ownership, you got to recognize your people and also share with them the profits that are gained. A lot of times, corporate America, it's like you work hard, you don't get the recognition. You work hard, you might get some recognition, but it's not what we deserve. I mean, if we do like I for instance, I worked for shopgoodwill.com. I used to sell musical instruments for them, and I did other things. I sold paintings, some electronics and stuff like that, but mainly musical instruments and paintings. And some of these things, I mean, they go. I don't know if you know how it works, but you pretty much there's a department where we were in. Our department would gain. We would go through all the donations at Orange County Goodwill. Each county has their own online store, and pretty much we'd sift through it. And if there's anything there that was of true value, like if I saw an instrument that wasn't a cheap instrument, it was, it was an antique, or it was, possibly a missing relic, something that belonged to somebody famous, or a special, just a good brand or good, musical instruments are expensive, right? And so if I see one that say, look, that guitar is good, let's clean it up, let's fix it. I'll fix them. I'll put it in the studio with a photographer. I have my own photographer, and we would sell these things online. Now I would bring in. I probably made $18,000 at that job, $18,000 a year, but I made Goodwill about $3 or $4 million in sales. $3 or $4 million in sales, and I would get paid 18 grand. No stocks, no bonuses, nothing. And it was just a simple $10 an hour job. Um, and yeah, that was it. They'd get us food every now and then. But other than that, there were really no sharing in the benefits. And yeah, it's a nonprofit organization, but if you really know Orange County Goodwill or Goodwill at all, it shouldn't be a nonprofit, right? So they make money, right? But what I'm saying here is I should have been able to share in some of that, right? I would make them a lot of money. I had a painting that went for 700 grand, right? And so, yeah, that would be nice if I could share into some of that, some extra incentive or commissions, but we didn't get any of that. So I understand if you're gonna have a group of employees, right, workers who do well and they bring a lot of business into the company as an owner, It would be the smart thing to acknowledge that worker and say, hey, you know what? You've made us a lot of money. Here you go. Here's a little for you, or have them share in the profits. It'll keep them motivated. They would want to keep working. I used to be a trainer for a security company, but I had dreams of really getting my licenses and my insurance and starting something of my own, right? Because everything that I worked for was for a guy named Billy out in Westminster. It was really his. I just kind of ran it for him, but um, my plans were, here I am. I have all these connections. I could start a business on my own, and I had a good name in the industry, especially in that area of Orange County. And I said I could have swept all of the clients up, right, and started my own thing. Um, but where did I get that? Oh yeah, my plan was that because I know the contracts, I would pick up the checks from the clients, and the clients, like a restaurant, would pay $25 an hour for a guard. They'd pay $25 an hour for a guard to my company. I know this because I saw the invoice, and that was my job to collect the invoice, get it signed, pick up the checks, and all that stuff. But the guard would only get about $12, $11. So the majority of it went to the owner. And yeah, he's the one with the license, he's the one with the insurance, but come on, I mean you're like pimping out all these bodyguards and bouncers. So if you're in security, start your own business. There's money there. There's money there. But yeah, so that would have been my thing. I would have paid my guard $20. I said, look, I'm gonna take five off the top because I gotta run the business. Maybe I won't make as much of a cut. I mean, Billy lived well. He lived well. He had a nice house, um, a fleet of muscle cars. He liked to collect cars for auto shows and stuff like that. Multiple businesses, and plus he had pensions from previous jobs. He was in law enforcement, and so he does well. He could afford that, but no. What happens is you be a cheapskate with the guards. You're gonna get low quality guards. You're gonna get guys who just don't care. You're gonna get guys who don't give a damn. They just want a quick paycheck for the weekend, uh, and they don't see much value in the business to where they're not going to perform as a guard for you. They're not going to perform as an employee who represents you. But if you take care of them, there is a new energy. This person is excited to come to work. He wants to go the extra mile, right? So, I mean, as a business owner, that's what I do. So, sorry, got some in my teeth, dinner or something. The first condition to make business better, let's go with the win-win. All right. So if one person gives freely, yeah, he gains even more. Another yields unduly and becomes poverty. If someone makes too much money at someone else's expense, he or she may lose it one day. However, what seems to be a loss for a time may result in a gain. If you deal, if a deal is worthwhile for only some of the people involved, it will not last long, and it will likely cause some resentment. This can drive the injured party to seek a less exploitative relationship, right? There you go. So if you do an employee bad and he finds out, he's going to want to go somewhere else. You say, look, you're charging a client $25, you're only giving me 12, and I'm the one over here putting my life on the line and getting into fights every weekend. It's like, forget this. I'm gonna go somewhere else where I'm gonna be valued. That's what happens in every industry. Your goal should be to establish a positive relationship in which your employee wins. There are several types of relationships. There's four. There's the loss, lose, lose win, and there's win win. All right, so we got to go for the win win. Only win win relationships prevail over time and produce lasting alliances. Therefore, anyone who makes more than what is reasonable or fair does so at his or her own expense. Excessive profits is dangerous for business relationships. Perhaps someone thinks it is unwise to not make as much money as possible, but if you analyze the situation carefully, you will see that the excessive earnings by only one partner breed resentment in corporate and commercial partnerships. Um, this is called, but there's, oh, sorry. So pretty much when there's the bosses that are winning all the time, this will damage relationships. It'll develop resentment in the corporation, right? So your employees will resent you. You never want to be that boss who's like so big, he makes all the money, and everybody looks at you like, yeah, you chump. Like, I'm just here for the paycheck, but if I could work for someone else, I work for someone else. You never want to be that guy. It says in economics, there's a graph known as the Laffer curve, which shows a tax revenue is only progressive up to a certain level. When taxation becomes excessive, government revenues from taxes start to decline, whether because of an evasion or lower economic activity within the tax generation base. All right, so there's some sort of a curve that happens where in taxation, the government profits up to a certain level. Other than that, they're losing, um, they're losing the revenues. So we assert, the authors are saying that the Laffer curve can also be applied to business. That when someone exploits their business partners and alliances, customers, suppliers, managers, or employees, profit will rise. Just so the big boss can only get away with so much, right? When you start to exploit all of those people, those groups of people that I just mentioned, you can only profit. He can only profit to a certain the boss. I'm not playing the boss can only profit to a certain extent, to a certain point, but then starts to decline, and it will decline to lower levels that then would have occurred if the individual acted properly and honestly. So what it's saying is corporate America, the big bosses, the CEOs, the guys on top who really don't care about the little guys. What it's saying is this Laffer, according to the Laffer curve, these guys can only get away with so much. When we're working at the bottom ranks or the mid ranks, we're like, oh, the top guys, they got it all. We don't get paid enough. They're profiting on our labor. They're profiting off of the sweat off of our backs. But what the Laffer curve is saying is that they can only win by a margin. If they go anywhere above, they're losing out. It doesn't mean that it's fair, but it does mean that they're not making as much as we think they are, right? They are. I mean, they're still robbing us, but I mean that's just the way corporate America is structured. All right, but it is a decision to have your company, your business structured that way as well. So it says here, it will decline. So it says here that there will be a decline. They can only rise in that margins at the top of that margin for so long. Eventually, it'll decline, and when it declines, they will lose money. And what it's saying here is that what he's saying is to those people on the top, if they would have just been fair in the beginning and made it a level playing field, pay your employees more, treat them better, establish great relationships with them. Yeah, it'll cost some money. Yes, it'll cost time. Yes, it'll cost resources. But instead of thinking that that's a loss to take care of your employees, what he's saying is that money would not be as much as the money you're going to lose if we go long term in that the robbing side, the profitable margins and revenues, right? So it said, they would have been better off. They would have been better off just treating them, spend the money on your employees, give them raises, give them bonuses, give them a higher setup, give them a higher commission rate, right? Take care of them more. Which is probably why the company I work with, Primerica, which is probably why they're doing so well, because they're not afraid to pay their employees. That's why they do so well. They sweep up the market. The employees happy. Well, not employees, the contracted uh, licensed people are happy to get that money. They get paid well to do what they do, and yeah, everybody's it's a win-win. See how that works? So we're not saying okay. So the loss may arise from breaking a business, a reduction in orders, or a slack of companionship and motivation. So those are the areas where they're going to lose money. We are not telling you to be a goody two shoes. Just be good. That's nice. Don't be a goody two shoes. Just be good as a business owner. We are not telling you to be a wimp, but just be honest. Do honest business. This is a truth Everyone recognizes, but few apply. Everything you do will come back to you. So it says we all know how to be honest. We all know how to be good to each other, but few recognize it. Today, the authors of this book are reaping many good things because we have been sowing for 20 and 30 years. The earlier you sow, the more you reap. This is the law of sowing, which we will explore soon later on in this book, and how it'll affect you in a positive way and when you are useful to your neighbor and work with the win-win idea in mind. So, talks about sowing, which is going to be a chapter that we're going to cover later in this book. But it says here that the earlier you sow, the more you will reap. Which I got to talk to you guys about one of the services that we offer in my company's investments long term, for your retirement, for education, for your kids, future kids, and for emergencies whenever things come up, or just maybe a simple family vacation, a project that you want to put money on, or a vehicle that you want to buy, something nice that you want to buy yourself. You want to save money. You need to save money. And let me tell you guys, it's not that hard. You should start right now. Forget about the market. Don't worry about what the market does. Your money will be well with us. I got some things I got to show you. Hit the get quote button and ask about it. There's an option to select to where you can send me a message and ask me about these services, or you can message me directly at either one of my Facebook pages, and I will definitely get in contact with you and show you a different outlook on what your life can be like 20, 30, 40 years from now. All right. If you want to retire with, well, or if you want to retire at all, right? Um, I got some things to share with you. We're talking about the difference of $1 million in your bank account. Hit me up. All right. So the next concept we got to get better at is teamwork. Isaiah 41 verse 6 says they help each other and say to their companies, be strong. Excuse me, guys. I got to take a drink. Teamwork. Sorry, gotta lubricate. they they help each other and say to their companies, be strong. Awesome. When you apply the law of usefulness, whether to a team or to a win-win concept, the ability to be a team player is very important. The image of these solitary scientists working alone and discovering a vaccine is a thing of the past. The majority of modern information and resources from various fields of knowledge and their interfaces resulted from teamwork. Nor can we imagine an efficient doctor or lawyer without a team. Ain't that right? Every good doctor, every good lawyer has a team. When you call Larry H. Parker's not going to be your lawyer, but one of his teammates is going to help you out. All right, that's how that works. Same thing for accountants and engineers. We all need help in relationships in order to produce much better, to produce more, and to produce much better. The business landscape is currently in dire need of groups of teams that can work in a harmonious manner. It is not by incident that most of the great names that we know of are have had to go into business with other people in order to achieve their objectives. They sought out people who followed their line of thought. Guys, this is so true. And this is why I am currently rebuilding a team. Um, I'm out to develop the best team in my business. People who are in line with me and my thoughts, people who are in line with my passion to help people. And I'm looking for people that are tired of doing what they've been doing for money for their family. I'm looking for people who are tired of working the 9 to 5, tired of working the 40, 50, 60-hour job, working 2 jobs at a time like I did. I did that for 5 straight years, guys, and it sucked. Well, 6 years. No, 7 years. 7 years I worked two jobs at a time. It's not good. It's not healthy. It's not what God wants for you. If you want just one opportunity to provide better income for your family and help people along the way and become a better person, all right, and have a great mentor, have a great coach, I got the opportunity for you. I'm looking to develop a team, guys. Hit me up about this. We got to talk. All right. Napoleon Hill, noted that the union of two or more minds uh, generated a whole that a like a whole, not a whole, but a whole. Um, two the union of two or more minds generated a whole that was greater than the sum of its parts. Dang. So if this guy can produce, I don't know, whatever, four X, four, whatever, and this guy can produce four, together they will produce what? Eight? Wrong. More. More than eight. It says it'll together as a whole with this mind and this mind together they will produce more than what they would have done separately. So this guy produces four on his own, this guy produces four on his own. Together, when Napoleon Hill is saying, and also Douglas and Teixeira is here saying that this four and this four together is not eight. We will produce more as a whole. Two minds together, two minds are better than one, right? It says here he calls it the mastermind. That must be from Think and Grow Rich. On their own, none of them would have achieved the success that they did. Only, only as a team can you create this kind of synergy. All right, guys, we gotta develop teams. In a lecture by HSM Management Brazil Expo in 2020, Jim Collins, the author of Built to Last and one of the world's most respected thinkers in the management field, pronounced that we have to build teams with the right people in the right positions. Again, if you want to be on an awesome team, call me, message me, DM me, whatever you want to call it. Um, to do this, he offers the following insightful tips. The right people will identify with the company's core values. They don't need close. Okay, let's go through this one by one. Identify with the company's core values. So, the right people that you want on your team are the people that believe in the values of the company. The motto of my company is help families earn more income, become properly protected, debt free, and financially independent. So, I need people on my team that value those things. Don't Number two, they don't need close supervision. They don't need micromanagement. They are self-motivated and responsible. See, I love managing a team. I love working with new people. But you got to be that kind of person to where I just need to be told once or twice. Other than that, I got it. I need those kind of guys. I need people that are going to be like, that want to learn and will learn from me, but they're not going to be there, asking every single question. They're going to try to figure things out on their own and learn from mistakes, and because mistakes can always be corrected, and then they'll come to me and say, hey, did I do this right or did I do this wrong, instead of can you have me do everything step by step by step by step. Like, you don't want to train people like that, because then you're going to give them step by step for everything else in their life, right? And so you want to train people that don't need close supervision. They don't need micromanagement. They don't need somebody looking over their shoulder. Also, what that means is that even if you leave them alone, you can trust in them that they're going to do the job, right? They are self-motivated and responsible. There you go. Number three, they understand that they don't have a job, but rather a responsibility. And that's huge. I want people on my team that even though this is the income for their family, they're not going to look at it as a job. Because if you look at things as a job, number one, you're not going to care because it's not yours. It's not your company. It's not your business. When you work at a job, you're working for someone else. You do all the work, and the boss gets all the accolades. So you're not going to do your job right. You're not going to do the above and beyond. You're not going to have a win-win relationship with me, right? It's going to be a win-lose or a lose-win. All right, so that's how that's going to work. But if I got somebody on my team, I want them to have that mentality that, um, as it says here, they understand that they don't have a job, but rather responsibility. They take the initiative because they care and they're passionate about it, like we just talked about, and they take responsibility. They take the initiative. They go above and beyond without me having to ask. They don't treat it like a job. They treat it like it's their own. If you have even if it is a job, if you're responsible for someone, if you're a supervisor, manager, and you see somebody on your team who they treat it like they're the CEO of the company, like they're the founder of the company, or they're the owner of the company. Um, you will see that this person produces very well. Right. Number four, they do what they have agreed to do, and they keep their word. So that they're uh, what's the word that we talked about the other day? They have integrity. Their word is their bond. I love it. Number five, they are mature in front of the mirror and the window. We'll cover that right now. Number six, they are able to grow with their position and responsibilities. They don't just sit there, they grow, right? They learn, they self improve. They don't make the same mistakes over and over. You see them that, you know, they accept the challenge very well, right? And don't just blame others. And the last one is they have enormous passion for the company and what they do. So they love to represent the company and its core values. All right, so the fifth item regarding the mirror and the window is worth explaining. A poor professional, let me cover that point again. It says they are mature in front of the mirror and the window. We're gonna finish it off here. A poor professional, when everything, okay, here's the poor professional, right? Here's the guy you don't want. When everything is going well, looks out in the mirror and attributes success to himself. So when things are all right, so for a professional, I got to look out over it again. When things are going great, he looks at the mirror and says, "Oh, that was all you. That was all you. Good job, you." Right? They look at the mirror. Um, but when things are bad, he looks out the window and he looks for someone to blame. So when things are bad, a poor professional will look out the window and say, "You see all those people out there? It's them. It's all them. Them. Right? It's their fault. They're the reason." All right? That's a bad professional, a poor professional. A good professional and a team worker does the opposite. When things are going well, he looks out the window and he attributes the success that they have to the team. So when things are going good, all right, a great professional, a good professional will look out the window and say, "You see all them? That's why we're successful. You see all those guys? See that guy right there, and that woman right there? See that girl, that guy? Those are the reason. They are the reason why we're winning right now. When things go wrong, he puts up the mirror and asks himself, what I could have done to avoid, what could I have done to avoid the problem? When things are bad, a good professional will look in the mirror and say, it was your fault. What could we have done? What could I have done to do better? How do I get better? Right? Which my coach says all the time. You know, he says he wants to hear that from us. You know, coach, I didn't close, but how do I get better? This is what happened, right? He wants to hear that. Awesome point to finish off on. And then we're going to finish with the final quote. Lee Iacocca says, "You won't be successful for long by kicking those around you." And I highlighted that for a situation that I went through last year or the year before. Uh, no leader. This is about leadership, right? Being useful is about being a servant. So, and but also about being a leader. As a servant, you got to work your ass off and go the extra mile and do it as if it belongs to you. Treat the job like you own the job. And if you're not getting recognized by your employees, by your coworkers, by your bosses, keep acting as if as you know, if you work at a warehouse, walk in as if your family and your kids' tuition depends, your bills depend on all this shipment, this tonnage to move out of the warehouse. We got to move all this freight, right? Because my family depends on it. When you treat it like it's yours, you will find recognition, you will find a promotion, right? And because Anybody that does good, it's going to happen for you. And if it doesn't happen for you there, other opportunities will come up. Other people will acknowledge you, will recognize you. I did well at the airport, guys. I did well to where I did a simple cargo flight export in China, one of these China airlines, China Cargo. And because I did well, I was an office agent, and there's three office kinds of office agents. There are export, import, and then there was customer service. Um, I was just an export guy, and I noticed that you know the import people gained a lot more knowledge than I did because they dealt with a whole lot more that dealt with the customers and things like that. My part, the customer relation part was done. That was another department. The sales department handled that. All I did was make sure that the cargo got on the plane. And I did that from the office, right? But what I started to do was, um, on my way out to the airplane, I would have 3 flights a day, and I prepare a flight, take the flight, prepare a flight, take the flight, prepare a flight, take the flight. In between, I would start becoming handy in the warehouse, helping my guys out, um, getting out there, making sure things were done. Instead of waiting for them to report to me, I'd go out there and get the report and come back and do my job. And I'd be the dirtiest office worker. I started breaking down pallets and building pallets. I was doing all kinds of things. Um, to where the truckers thought I was a new warehouse guy, but really I was an office guy. That was going out there and handling the warehouse stuff too. And I became known for that. I became the youngest supervisor in the company, skipped the lead position, went straight to supervisor, and was in talks to be the next duty manager, which would have been my first 100 grand job. Yeah, and I was 19 years old, right? Uh, and people couldn't believe that I rose in the rankings so fast. But that's because, um, I treated it like it was my own, right? And also, the manager at the time, John Gale, rest in peace, John. Uh, he saw something in me, and he was also my uncle's supervisor or manager back in the day. And he said, "Man, the way you and my uncle rose fast in the company too. He actually had the record. I believe it was, but he said, "Man, you come in here, you work just like your uncle did, and he recognized that, and he shared a lot with me, as a young person, and promoted me. And there's a lot of people that didn't like that because they've been there for years, but I made very good money as a 19-year-old, 20-year-old. I did some stupid things with it too because I wasn't really mature outside of work. But you gotta work like that, guys. You gotta work. You gotta be useful and serve wherever you can, whenever you can. God is, He wants us to be that person. Today, guys, it's funny that we're covering this today, and it's funny. I skipped 2 days, maybe 3 days, no, 2 days of sharing this book. And my first day was rest. Yesterday, and yesterday I had something going on, so I couldn't read. I decided to change my pattern, my agenda up as well. So, anyways, today I was on my way to Santa Fe Springs to pick up a filing cabinet that I found for free on OfferUp. And as soon as I hit one freeway and I joined another, I saw two girls who are on the side of the freeway trying to use the call box. That means their phone is not working. Um, and they were, one was just hanging up the phone and just kind of threw her hands up. The other one was over there trying to signal people to slow down and stop for them. And this is, after hours traffic. This is 5 o'clock or so. So people are getting off of work. Nobody wanted to stop. They didn't have any insurance. They were trying to figure out how they were going to get their car running and get themselves home. They simply ran out of gas. There wasn't anything wrong with the car, and they're trying to get free roadside assistance. Right, and so I put it out. I just pulled over, backed up to them, offered them a ride. Took them to get gas. They purchased a gas tank, one of those red tanks. Got a gallon of gas, and I took them back to their car. They were scared of me because I got my Blue Lives Matter flag on my truck, and they're African American. But I was being friendly and just trying to keep conversation going as we're getting to the gas station and everything. Trying to make sure they weren't scared, even though it was me and my one of my youngest daughter, my 2-year-old, in the back seat. But they were still scared, and they asked me not to kidnap them. But I took them and got them back right in time because CHP pulled over with a tow truck and they were going to take the car away. But I pulled up, let them out, and they were so happy, that I was there to help them out, and that they would have. I don't know what would have happened, right? But we got them back on the road and they're off. Now I didn't have to do that, and I'm not trying to give myself praise or nothing, but we have to do that as often as possible. God calls us to be that way. That when we started off the chapter talking about sin. Sin is not just doing things that are bad, but also not doing good things when you can help somebody, when you can bless somebody. Look, there was a day where I dropped my wife off at LA City Hall. We had an event over there in the front, and I couldn't park because there was no parking. So I just decided to drive around and kind of monitor and be a private security guard for a day. But I stopped at a gas station, and there was a family across the street that just got put out of their apartment. And the mom was on the phone with county because I could hear the conversation because she was screaming and trying to get mad at a worker that money didn't come into their account, and so therefore they lost their apartment. They got put out. They had their clothes out in garbage bags on the sidewalk, and there was two little girls, a dog tied to a little tree, and they had a son, two sons, one little and one teenager. And I was at the gas station across the street, and the mom was screaming and yelling, saying, "Black Lives Matter." And she goes, "How could they put us out in the street like this?" And this is not me trying to be political or anything. This is just what she was saying, screaming, "Don't Black Lives Matter? How can they put me and my kids out here? This is not my fault. It's my workers' fault. All this stuff." And I had McDonald's in the car because um, I just bought some for me and my two daughters. It was just a couple meals, and the son ran over to use the restroom at the gas station where I was at, and I came out and I was trying to get a hold of the lady. It was a busy street. She wouldn't pay attention, but I caught her son and I said, "Hey, come here." I said, "Did you guys eat?" He said, "No, we haven't." And so I gave him all the food that we had, and he was grateful. And he was like, "Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much." I go, "Yeah, no problem." And I go, "Look, let me go get some more. I'll be right back. The McDonald's is 2 blocks down the street. I'm gonna get some more food and come back." And I went, got in line, ordered the food, ordered extra, um, came back, but they were already gone. But um, we gotta do what we have to, what we can, whenever we can. Even though people are not. Regardless of it, I don't even bring that up. Regardless of what views people have, you got to treat everybody like a human being. We're all brothers and sisters in Christ, and so we got to do what we can when we can to go the extra mile to help out, to be useful, right? There was a couple of other incidents too that I want to share, but I guess this has gone long enough. Just know that you have to do what you can. If you would leave a situation where you could have helped, that right there's a sin. And I don't even need to bring up a Bible verse to prove that. I mean, if you feel it in your heart that it was not right, that you could have done something more, that you should have helped, you should have been more helpful. I mean, I don't know what else I could tell you. When something is not right, it's not right. It's just isn't. You got to go off of that. And you got to feel that too at a job. I remember it's been a while since I had a job. I have a business now, but I remember there's things that you know you have that an opportunity to do something, even though you weren't asked, but you have an opportunity to go above and beyond, and you just you say, should I do it? Could I should I go there? Should I get up? My boss didn't ask me. It's not part of my job. It's not really my duties, but you do it. you feel great. You get that fulfillment, of getting that thing done, whatever it is. And if you don't, I don't know about you, but there's a guilt that is there, that I would feel. I said, man, I should have did that extra job. I should have, you know, I could have done it better. I could have cleaned up better. I could have, make sure that was more secure, whatever it was, right? And as a boss, just love on your people, acknowledge them, recognize them, help them, and that's pretty much it. But yeah, what an awesome way of looking at it too. The final paragraph about the good worker and a bad worker. The one and the way that they work, the bad teammate, the good teammate, the bad teammate, the way that they view responsibilities is huge. The window and the mirror. All right, absolutely beautiful the way he put that together. I love that. But anyways, guys, I feel like I'm being sluggish this chapter, but not, I mean, I just getting back into the whole mode of it. I understand there's a day we got to recharge. We learned about the law of recharging, but just saying in the future, we have some more projects. I got some more projects I want to work on, things I want to do with you guys. I want to get more interactive with you all. And if you guys could please help out by commenting, liking, sharing, and uh, just responding to me if there's anything that you want to cover. If there's any book you want me to read, if there's anything that you want me to review, I'm also want to review some videos and things like that. We're gonna really go in on this podcast thing, right? Because I feel like I have a voice that needs to be used, and I need to develop this audience. I need to develop this channel so I can be more, have more reach, be more interactive with the people. So, guys, no matter what you're going through right now, God bless you. Just know that you are blessed no matter what. You're always going to make it out on top. You're always going to win. You just got to have the right attitude, have the right perspective, and just know that God, He will take care of you. You are truly God's and nobody else's. And just know that you are beautiful, you're awesome, you're amazing, you're useful. I love you. And thank you for watching. And God bless you. Y'all have a great night.